Part 63. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 621. Chapter 621 Robbery. Due to a deep-rooted habit, she always wraps the strap of her briefcase tightly around her arm and hugs the bag to her chest to prevent anything from happening. She also knew that it would be too eye-catching, and it would be better to blend in quietly and blend in with the crowd. Why use this method to announce to the world that what's inside is important? Last month she went to the bank to collect everyone's wages. Just about to be robbed. After that incident, Lee Ziyun became even more vigilant, always keeping her bag next to her and not daring to relax for a moment. It was also the day of the month when she would put a large amount of cash in her bag. Her job was to take it from the bank to the accounting office. Originally, she should not have done this alone. At least she should have been accompanied by the section chief of the security department of the factory to ensure her safety. But who knew that when she went to the bank that day, the section chief suddenly suffered from high blood pressure at the bank. Has been sent to the hospital. You can't say that you won't return the money in your bag. Is it possible to stay in the bank for the rest of your life? The problem was that when her bag was snatched from her shoulder by a man wearing a green top, Lee Ziyun felt both embarrassed and angry. She had always been very careful, but apparently not enough, and now there was a big stain on her record. Frankly speaking, she was horrified to be caught by a thief who had taken advantage of her. She had been taught from a very young age to always be in good shape, to be cautious, and to be aware of her surroundings. If a short man wearing a green top could get her, if she has the upper hand, then she should be neither in a good condition nor cautious. When life and death are at stake, any slight mistake can be fatal. This is not her first day as an accountant. Of course you know what to do. The bank security was obviously of great help to her. It has been a year since that time. Lee Ziyun almost forgot about that incident. Today is another day of unexpected events. Because the head of the security department is on leave today, Xiao Zhang, the cashier of the accounting office, is coming with her. Xiao Zhang is a young boy. The problem is that Xiao Zhang looks big and thick, but in fact he is as timid as a mouse. Any hint of bravado can make him tremble with fear. Let Xiao Zhang come because everyone thinks that Xiao Zhang's physique can scare those who harbor evil intentions. Indeed, Xiao Zhang looks very bluffing. After finishing the formalities quickly, she held the bag tightly in one hand and picked up a bag with the other hand and walked towards the door of the bank hall. Xiao Zhang followed her in a panic. For some unknown reason, 7 or 8 business people who had just entered the hall poured in from the entrance door on her left, so she walked to the right, trying to avoid the crowd. This method obviously worked, and she quickly walked out of the door on the right. But then her left shoulder was hit, and she subconsciously turned around to check. Isn't Xiao Zhang behind you? Nobody. Relying on the vigilance she had honed over the years, she reacted instantly and tightened her grip on the bag. At this moment, the shoulder strap broke and hung limply from her shoulders. No, don't do it again. She leaned over and spun quickly, throwing the heavy bag in her hand towards the robber behind her. She suddenly caught a glimpse of a pair of fierce black eyes and a shaggy face, and then all her attention was focused on his hands. He held the knife in one hand and grabbed her bag with the other and yanked it. The bag containing the account books in his hand hit his shoulder. He staggered, but did not let go. Lee Ziyun was so nervous that she forgot to scream or be afraid. She was too furious to react like that. And screaming and being scared are bound to distract her. Instead, she struggled to throw the bag out of her hand again, and this time she aimed at his hand holding the knife. She heard people talking loudly around her. Some people were trying to escape the chaos but bumped into other people, causing an unknown panic. Everything happened in a dazzling moment. Almost no one knew what happened. They were separated by a door for a while. She had no outside help to rely on. Xiaozhang didn't know where to hide. Li Xiaoyun gritted her teeth and could only hide. All attention was focused on the robber in front of him. Boom, she hit him again, but he still held the knife tightly. Bitch, he roared angrily and stabbed her with the knife. The cold light flashed, and Li Xiaoyun jumped back in shock. The hand that was tightly grasping the bag slipped. He yanked it and successfully snatched it away. Li Xiaoyun quickly grabbed the hanging shoulder strap, but the robber slashed it with his knife. The silver light flashed and the shoulder strap broke, and the tight tension suddenly disappeared. She staggered back, and at this moment the robber turned around quickly and fled. After Li Xiaoyun regained his balance, he shouted "Catch him" and chased him out. Because of the unexpected situation, she had to run reluctantly. The robber had a pair of long legs and had the advantage of running ahead of her. The heavy bag kept bumping against her thighs, further hampering her running speed, but she couldn't drop it. Even though she knew everything was in vain, she still separated from the crowd and kept chasing. Despair struck her heart, and now she could only hope that some hero among the crowd would step forward to intercept him. That's the salary of a person in a factory. She would rather die than lose the money. Her wish was answered immediately. Straight ahead, a tall man with his back to the bank turned around and looked casually at the commotion. At this time, the robbers had almost rushed to his side. Li Xiaoyun took a breath and shouted "Catch him" again. Although she knew that the robber would definitely escape before the tall man could react, she just couldn't stop this hope. The tall man could see the reason for what happened at a glance. In an instant, he turned around in an incredibly smooth and elegant way and kicked the robber right in the right knee. The robber flipped sideways and fell to the ground on his back. The bag was thrown out, slid across the pavement bricks on the ground, hit the wall, and bounced back into the crowded passage. Li Xiaoyun immediately changed direction and rushed towards her bag, grabbing it before another quick thief could it away. At the same time, the tall man moved quickly and bent down neatly to subdue the robber and make him lie prone. He put the robber's hands behind his back and held them with one big hand. Ouch! The robber screamed in pain. You bastard, you broke my hand. The curse was met with a reply as his hands were roughly pushed higher. That power made the robber scream louder, and he was speechless in pain. Watch your language. I don't like people greeting my mother in this way, and I don't like it either. The tall man said. Li Xiaoyun rushed over and stood next to him. Be careful, she said breathlessly. He had a knife. I know, the knife fell there when he fell. Without raising his head, the man gestured to his left jaw. While speaking, he had already taken out the robber's belt, tied his wrists, and tied a simple and effective knot on it. Go and pick it up, holding the blade between your fingers and being careful not to touch it anywhere else. He seemed to be very good at it. Li Xiaoyun walked over obediently, took out a tissue from her skirt pocket, and carefully picked up the knife according to his instructions to avoid erasing the robber's fingerprints. What to do now? Zhang Lei glanced at the bank security guard. The police haven't arrived yet. It'll be there in 2 minutes at most. Li Xiaoyun finally breathed a sigh of relief. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 622. Chapter 622 Request. While waiting for the police to arrive, Li Xiaoyun squatted next to her savior. Thank you. She pointed to the bag with shoulder straps hanging softly on both sides. He cut off the shoulder strap and took it away. This is the salary of our entire factory. You're welcome. Zhang Lei turned around and smiled at her. This girl was so brave. She dared to keep fighting and chasing after the knife-wielding gangster. Had he not seen the girl so brave, he would not have acted bravely. The consequences of the last time I acted bravely are still vivid in my mind. At this time, Li Xiaoyun really saw him. That was a glance that sparkled like lightning. Her eyes were twisted, her heart was beating wildly, and she had difficulty breathing. Wow! She took a deep breath so as not to give away her reaction. He must be the most handsome man she has ever seen, too handsome to be described in words. So handsome was the first adjective that came to her mind. She looked at other details with a bit of dizziness. Slightly long, slightly fluffy black hair, brushing the collar of a half-worn white shirt, smooth, honey-colored skin, clear and slightly bluish black eyes, and thick eyelashes. As if all this were not enough, he also has a sharp and straight nose bridge and clear and graceful lip contours that make people feel thirsty and attractive. She already knew that he was very tall, otherwise it would be impossible to knock down the robber in front of him with a roundhouse kick. Now she also noticed that he had broad shoulders, a smooth stomach and strong hips. God was very kind to him. If it weren't for the pure masculine tenacity in his expression and a long, crescent-shaped scar on his left forehead, he would be too perfect to be true. Lee Xiaoyun didn't know what was wrong with her. Facing a strange man, her legs were almost weak and her heart was beating. Perhaps it is my own hero complex that is causing trouble. The scars did not diminish his charm, but the marks left by a hard life emphasized that he was a real man. Lee Xiaoyun looked at his whole body obsessively once, okay, twice. So enchanted was she that it took her a while to realize that he was looking at her with amusement and interest. He caught her and looked at her unscrupulously, which made her cheeks burn with embarrassment. But she didn't have time to enjoy the beautiful scenery leisurely, so she forced herself to focus on the most important thing at the moment. The robber was moaning in pain continuously. Although his hands were tied behind his back and the tall man put a knee on his back, Li Xiaoyun doubted whether it was causing him any pain. Xiao Zhang ran over quickly and said some words of thanks as an afterthought. The police arrived soon. 2 policemen pressed the robbers into the car and took them away. 1 policeman took Li Xiaoyun and Zhang Lei back to take notes. Wait until after a period of war and chaos. It is already getting late. Zhang Lei glanced at his watch. Sigh, I'm not really going to break my legs, am I? This time it's really not that he didn't want to go on purpose. He waited at the park gate for a long time, but the girl never came. Zhang Lei was very bored and wanted to buy a newspaper from the newsstand, so he went to the newsstand next to the bank. Just when all this happened, he completely forgot about the blind date after what happened. It looked like it was already past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Even if the girl is waiting there, she can't wait until now. Why? Thinking of Fan Jiuying's broom, Zhang Lei felt a little chill in his back. Go back and tell all this to my mother. She probably thought he was making up a story, so she immediately turned her head and focused on the girl next to her. He looked down at her and smiled brightly, a small dimple dancing on his cheek. For God's sake, there are dimples. Li Xiaoyun felt that this man was too lethal. Zhang Lei stretched out his hand. Zhang Lei, an expert in catching thieves and a know-it-all, Zhang Lei is at your service. She smiled and shook his hand, aware that he was careful not to pinch her, and she was grateful for his self-restraint, considering the strength of those big hands that had just dealt with the robber. Most men are not that thoughtful. Li Xiaoyun, accountant at number 1 cigarette factory, nice to meet you, and thank you very much for your generous action today, otherwise, we will lose our wages. I will become a sinner for the ages. Everyone is waiting for their wages to be paid. If I were robbed today. Her injuries were minor, but it is estimated that all the workers in the factory would be injured. Zhang Lei hesitated for a long time and couldn't speak. If I ask a girl to help me with my problems, will this girl be implicated? Li Xiaoyun saw Zhang Lei's hesitation in an understanding manner. Comrade Zhang, if you have any difficulties and need my help, just ask. I was a little regretful just now. This Zhang Lei in front of me will never see each other again after they separate this time, but if the other party has any difficulties, he needs his help. Li Xiaoyun thought that she would be more than happy to extend her a little hand of friendship. I have absolutely no other meaning when I say this. Don't get me wrong, I have ulterior motives. Zhonglei scratched his hair a little helplessly. He doesn't want the girl to misunderstand him as a pervert, and he wants to invite the girl to his home to meet his parents when they first meet him. What the is going on? Li Xiaoyun smiled. I will never misunderstand that you have ulterior motives for me. Otherwise, wouldn't it be possible for you to have helped me so much? Wouldn't that be ungrateful? The naughty teasing made Zhonglei breathe a sigh of relief. That's it? I originally came for a blind date today, but I didn't see the girl at all because of what happened later. My mother took this blind date very seriously and warned me that if I didn't go, my legs would be broken. And the previous historical record was very bad, and it was absolutely stained by my mother's record. In order to save my legs, I would like to ask you to come to my house and explain to my mother. Otherwise, if I explain today's events to her, she will probably think that I have made up a tall tale. Zhonglei was a little embarrassed because the request he made was a bit excessive. The girl in front of me is very pretty. Zhonglei looked at her and assessed her reaction. Lest you really ignore other people's feelings. Do you look like a second-rate person like this? What surprised him most was her radiant charm, which was beyond his expectation. Having said that, the chemical reaction between the sexes has always been difficult to control, and Zhonglei is a person who is completely outside of logic. The girl in front of her is a beautiful woman with bright black eyes and shoulder-length hair. The adjectives he could think of were charming and moving. He glanced sideways at her again, this time with a purely male assessment. She is of medium height, perhaps a little thinner than the kind of plump women he likes, almost delicate. The white sleeveless top reveals healthy and slightly tanned arms. The muscles on the arms are the result of regular exercise. She is a girl who loves sports. Li Xiaoyun's smile appeared again. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 623. Chapter 623 Object. Then Zhonglei and Li Xiaoyun appeared at Jiang's house. When the two of them were at the door, they heard Fan Xiaoyun sending someone out. Aunt Lu is really sorry for me. I didn't expect that boy to be so unreliable. This time he broke the appointment again. Don't worry, I will definitely break his legs when he comes back. How could he do this to a girl? Fan Xiuying's furious voice made Zhonglei shiver. Xiuying, I really don't care about your Zhonglei's affairs in the future, I can't control it. Your Zhonglei does this again and again, how many times? I help him contact a girl, and he lets her go once. How dare you help him with my old face? Maybe those girls thought that the person introduced by me, Aunt Lu, was unreliable. Anyway, I won't come here again after your family's affairs. Aunt Lu fell down with an angry voice and strode out. He bumped into Zhonglei and Li Xiaoyun who were standing at the door. Aunt Lu was furious when she saw Zhonglei and Li Xiaoyun. Xiuying. Your family is too unkind. Your son already has a partner, but he still asks me to introduce him. Isn't this a scam? Don't look for me again in the future. He glared at Zhonglei fiercely. Aunt Lu twisted her short and fat body of less than 1.5 meters and walked away. Fan Xiuying was shocked by these words. As soon as I walked out of the courtyard, I saw my son standing at the door with a beautiful girl, and I instantly understood what Aunt Lu meant. In front of other girls, I can't show shame to my son. Everyone is here, come in quickly. Li Xiaoyun greeted him politely. Auntie, I'm very sorry. It's my first time coming to your door. I came empty-handed and didn't buy anything for you. It's a bit rude. Fan Xiuying saw that this girl was gentle and very polite. The anger in my heart finally disappeared. As long as the sun can bring someone back, even if it is not a blind date, then the sun is capable. This dead boy obviously has a partner, why didn't he tell me? If he told me, would he still be so anxious? And the girl looks really good, like a girl from a decent family. Not like those vixens on the street with curly hair, high heels, and painted eyebrows. Why are you so polite? What are you bringing with you when you come home? Come in Zhonglei, this kid has never said anything. What's your last name, girl? Where do you work? How old are you this year? Eternal themes. Li Xiaoyun smiled and said, Auntie, my name is Li Xiaoyun. I work as an accountant at the number 1 cigarette factory. Fan Xiuying quickly weighed it in her mind. This girl and her son were really a perfect match. It's good to be an accountant. As an accountant, you sit in an office and just write and do calculations. It is much better than those workers who go to the workshop, and the work is easy. He couldn't help but look Li Xiaoyun up and down. This girl is really good looking. Having double eyelids and big eyes, although her skin is not very white, her facial features are delicate, giving people a feeling of Xiaojiabiu, and when she smiles, there is warmth between her eyebrows. And he loves to laugh very much. It seems that such a person is easy to get along with. Fan Xiuying glared at Zhonglei angrily. I didn't expect this boy to have such good eyesight and still hide this matter. Come in quickly, there's no need for guests to stand in the yard and talk. Hello Li Xiaoyun to come in. Li Xiaoyun lifted the curtain and went in. Fan Xiuying deliberately fell behind a few steps. He pinched the soft flesh on Zhonglei's arm hard. Zhonglei took a breath of air in pain. His mother's move is really powerful. She has never failed in it for so many years. I don't know who she practiced it with. I'm afraid my father has been tortured by my mother a lot. When you look for a wife for yourself in the future, you can't find a wife who is always with others. Mom, you boy, you didn't tell your mother in advance about such a big thing as bringing your partner back, so that the family could prepare. You said that the house is a mess and nothing has been cleaned up. Let the girl see what it looks like. It seems like our family doesn't want to see other people. Tell me, you've grown so big, why don't you use your brain? Fan Xiuying lowered her voice and scolded her son. Zhonglei just wanted to explain that this was not his target. Fan Xiuying had already hurried a few steps and followed Li Xiaoyun into the house. Zhonglei was speechless. His mother must have really misunderstood. Taking Li Xiaoyun as the one he brought back, he immediately made the girl ashamed. Hurry in. Third brother, have ye been here? Zhang Xiaoxiao rushed in sweating profusely, followed by Song Moding. Although the weather is hot now, the couple is sweating too much. The weather is not very hot today, and there is a slight evening breeze. Zhonglei smiled and said, what brought you two here? Today is not Friday. What are you two doing here? Yi. I didn't see you. Go in and ask mom if she is in that room. He also just came in. Zhang Xiaoxiao pushed Zhonglei away and rushed in directly. Because Zhonglei was completely unprepared, he stumbled against his sister and almost hit the glass window behind her. Song Moding, what's wrong with my sister? Why are you so anxious that something big will happen? Zhonglei thanked him for resting his elbow on the windowsill, otherwise the glass window would have been smashed by himself. But it still hurts a little when my elbow hits the wall. Song Moding wiped his sweat. Bai Yi didn't go to school at all in the afternoon. We didn't know until the teacher called home just now. She didn't come back at night. We thought she was eating at mom's place. Song Moding and the others were shocked when they received the call. They went back to the house and saw that everything in the house was neatly arranged. There was no sign that anyone had come back, so they rushed to Fan Xiuying in a hurry. Come. This child didn't go to school all afternoon, who knows what will happen. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao had an incident where someone wanted to kidnap Tang Yuan. Naturally, I am more concerned about these children. I didn't expect that this is the case, and the children can disappear under my nose. Song Moding was also upset that he had actually found a few people to secretly protect his family. However, there are too many people in the family and the scope is too large. I originally thought that Bai Yi could not be someone else's target. After all, in the eyes of everyone, Bai Yi is just a child of a relative. How can she be compared to Tang Yuan? If someone were to deal with the couple secretly, the first people they should find would be Tang Yuan or people from the Fan family, so his people concentrated around this area without even thinking about it. Bai Yi will disappear under their noses. Zhang Lei smiled and said, "You two are making a bit of a fuss. The child is so old, and Bai Yi is so sensible. I never let you worry about it. You must be eating at your mother's side." I guess it was because he felt a little unwell in the afternoon, or the child got a little tantrum and missed school. I was afraid that you two would scold me, so I ran directly to my mother. They don't know what happened to Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 624. Chapter 624 Chaos. Zhang Xiaoxiao saw a strange girl in the room and swallowed the words he blurted out. "Mom, you have a guest here, come with me, I have something to ask you." Zhang Xiaoxiao said politely, turned around and went to the one next door. Before Fan Jiuying came over, Zhang Xiaoxiao had already searched the two rooms next to her, and not only Bai Yi was missing. The glutinous rice and steamed buns are also missing. Those two stupid boys had to go to the kindergarten and daycare today. They said they wanted to go to their grandma's house to play. The old man and the old lady naturally let them go and sent the two people to Fan Jiuying's place. Now, even these two boys were gone. Zhang Xiaoxin's heart sank. It's over. I'm afraid something happened again. It can't be that Mufeng came to trouble them. Zi Luo is still in their hands. Although she does not live in the Song family, Ziluo lives with Jin Dachuan and the others. With Jin Dachuan watching, no one would want to him away. Mufeng didn't dare to mess around even if it was for his sister's treatment. But where did these three children go? Zhang Xiaoxiao felt chills in his heart when he thought about how many pairs of black hands were waiting for them behind the scenes. He thought that these three children had put a little peach juice in each of them. My heart feels weak. At that time, I was worried that something might happen to the children without her around, so I had a first aid tool. I and Song Moding had given them numerous warnings not to let them expose this thing. That is in a small sealed glass bottle. Not much, just 10 milliliters. Just in case something happens to them. But I can't stand the unpredictability of people. If the three children fall into the hands of others, and they have this peach juice in their hands, they will be a ready-made handle to give them to others. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes turned dark. Song Moding quickly helped the person sit down. Don't worry, it's not necessarily that something happened to the three children, maybe they were naughty and where did they go to play. It's not like you didn't know that Tang Yuan was there, that was the Monkey King. Jumping up and down, how could he not have anything to do with him? If he only wanted to cause trouble, no one could resist him. Bai Yi and Baizai might have stayed with him because they were afraid that something would happen to him. Song Moding was afraid that something would happen to Zhang Xiaoxiao. Zhang Xiaoxiao's pregnancy is a little different from the last time she was pregnant with glutinous rice balls. The twins put too heavy a burden on the body. Zhang Xiaoxiao's morning sickness was much more severe than usual, and she couldn't eat at all. Having not eaten well for several days, and now suddenly running around with something like this, Zhang Xiaoxiao's face turned pale. Song Moding felt very distressed. I secretly wanted to find these three little guys. This time I would definitely teach them a lesson. I can only pray that no one else has done anything wrong, but who knows? Fan Jiuying came over and saw that her daughter looked bad. Hurriedly asked, "What's wrong? What's going on?" They had only known about Zhang Xiaoxiu's pregnancy for 2 days. Why did the child look like he was about to faint? Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his head, and the darkness in front of his eyes finally weakened. "Mom, where are Yi and glutinous rice balls, and steamed buns?" Fan Jiuying was stunned. "Isn't Yi going to school? I didn't see her. The glutinous rice and steamed buns have already gone back. Didn't the driver pick them up in the afternoon?" The more Fan Jiuying thought about it, the more wrong she became. In the afternoon, Tang Yuan and Beizai happily told her that they wanted to go back while carrying their school bags. The old lady sent a driver to pick them up. It was not the first time. Fan Jiuying was busy entertaining Aunt Lu at that time. "I didn't care about it. After all, this is not the first time that a driver comes to pick up the children. It is normal. Could it be that?" Fan Jiuying was so frightened that she sat down on the edge of the Kong. Zhang Xiaoxiu's eyes darkened and he fainted completely. Song Moding hurriedly put Zhang Xiaoping on the pillow. Fan Jiuying pinched Zhang Xiaoranzong. It took Zhang Xiaoxiao a long time to wake up. Xiaoxiao, how are you? How are you? Don't scare mom, don't scare mom." Fan Jiuying was extremely anxious as she held her daughter's hand. "Mom, I'm fine, don't worry. You haven't noticed anything in the past few days. Is there anything strange around our house, or is there anything unusual about their 3 children?" Zhang Xiaoxiao grabbed Fan Jiuying and asked. "It is impossible for people to disappear for no reason. There will always be someone who sees the clues. No one can do it perfectly." Fan Jiuying paused. "What's abnormal?" "Xiaoxiao, I know where Bai Yi is going. She asked me to buy a train ticket back to Zixi yesterday. It was a sleeper berth. At that time, she told me that you asked me to buy it for my classmates, so I made a special trip. At the train station, ask your child to take it back to you after you buy it. If we go by what we are saying now, I am afraid that the child will take the train ticket and get on the train by himself." Qin Ming just came over with his 2 children. After hearing Song Moding explain the matter, he thought about it for a long time and suddenly remembered it. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding looked at each other. "West City. That is not the county seat of the village where Bai Yi's second uncle and aunt are. Could it be that they were mistaken? Bai Yi was not kidnapped, but left by train. But what about the glutinous rice and steamed buns? We're going to the train station right now." Zhang Xiaoxiao went to the ground. Unfortunately, his vision went dark and he fell down again. Song Moding helped her lie down. "I'll go to the train station. You have a good rest at home. Mom, watch her and make her something to eat. She hasn't eaten anything all day today and vomited everything she ate." Zhang Xiaoxiao disagrees. "If the child is lost, what can I do if I don't go alone? I want to go together. How can I stay at home without knowing the whereabouts of the children? Don't make everyone worry. What's the use of going now? You can't even take care of yourself and will faint at any time. When you faint, do you want Mo Ting to take care of you or go find the child?" Fan Jiuying was furious. Song Moding patted her shoulder. "Don't worry, you should be obedient at home and don't make me worry. My brother-in-law and I will go look for them and we will definitely get the children back." Song Moding turned around and pulled Qin Ming away. Qin Ming knows people at the train station and can ask for help when the time comes. Qin Ming handed his 2 children to Zhang Lei, turned around and left. Zhang Lei said hurriedly, "I'll go too. Leave the kids at home, and have one more person to help you. How can you find someone at such a big train station with just the 2 of you? Hurry to chase him out." 3 people got on the bus and went to the train station. Fan Jiuying was too flustered to care. Niuniu and Dainiu are sensible, but they can't help but be a little noisy. Li Xiaoyun couldn't leave even if she wanted to. She saw Zhang Xiaoxiao lying on the bed, unable to get up with her eyes closed. She was so dizzy now that she would fall down as soon as she walked. Fan Qiuying was busy cooking for Zhang Xiaoxiao in the kitchen. The two children sat there, feeling that no one was playing with them, and cried softly with their lips curled up. At this time, Li Xiaoyun felt that it was inappropriate to leave by herself, so she coaxed the two children into the next room. We can't let the two children disturb Zhang Xiaoxiao while he rests. Although the two children recognized her, they only started playing with her after coaxing her for a while. Li Xiaoyun didn't bother to leave that night. Always coaxing the children to sleep. It was already past 10 o'clock in the evening when I wanted to leave. Fan Qiuying was not worried about her leaving either. Li Xiaoyun stayed at Jiang's house that night. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 625. Chapter 625, Not Much Stronger. Bai Yi held the ticket and pretended to follow a middle-aged man and a woman into the station. No one pays attention to such a small child. I thought I was with the adults. Bai Yi got into the car and found the sleeper berth. It was strange when the conductor changed her sleeper berth. Little girl, why are you alone? Where are your parents? Who took you on the train? Bai Yi smiled calmly and said, Auntie, my mother took me to the car. My mother is going to the dining car now to buy me some food. I'm a little dizzy. She had already thought of an excuse. Fortunately, the conductor didn't care about this, and he left after changing the license plate. Bai Yi quickly huddled up in the quilt and pretended to sleep there. The quilt was so bulging that no one would pay attention to whether the person sleeping under the quilt was a child or an adult. You can get off the car in the early morning tomorrow, and no one will notice at that time. Bai Yi didn't get up until 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. When the passengers around her asked, Bai Yi always used the excuse that her mother was taking care of her younger brother. Her younger brother was in a berth in another carriage, so she slept in her mother's berth. The adults didn't care about this either. After all, it was impossible for the child to ride the train alone. It is indeed a bit difficult for a woman to take the train with two children. If the younger brother is younger, she must take care of the younger brother first. It really allowed Bai Yi to get through. In this era, not many people sit in sleeper berths. Most people sit on the hard seats in the front. Those who can afford sleeper berths are either on business or wealthy people. This train to Zixi is not a popular route, so the sleeper berth is empty. When it was time for dinner, Bai Yi took out her small backpack, which contained food. There were a lot of bread, biscuits, and other things at home, and she could pack just a few of them and it would be enough for her to eat 2 meals. As a result, she turned around and found 2 small heads staring at her with 2 pairs of eyes, which shocked Bai Yi. Bai Yi quickly ran behind the 2 people and breathed a sigh of relief when she didn't see Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding. But what followed immediately was the feeling of being unable to complain. The uncle on the upper bunk saw 2 more little pods and asked Bai Yi strangely. Is this your brother? Didn't you say that your mother brought you and your brother together? Why do you have 2 brothers? These 2 brothers look quite similar. They are both round, white, and fat. They look upside down. Quite pleasing. Bai Yi forced a smile. She didn't know when these 2 naughty guys got on the train, and they were actually following her. She had been walking for a long time, and she didn't know where these 2 little guys had been hiding just now. Uncle, my mother was a little tired, so we let her sleep over there. The 2 of us came to find my sister and squeeze together with her. My sister's bed is big, otherwise my mother wouldn't be able to stretch her legs if she was with the 2 of us. Open. Baizai Songzi has a lot of experience, and he is very good at telling lies. Tang Yuan nodded vigorously. We are squeezed together with my sister, who has a big bed. Not to mention, this child is really sensible and actually considers his mother. Indeed, you two are so fat, and your mother is squeezed together with you, and the bed cannot sleep 3 people. Good boy. Uncle takes good care of you. When you grow up, you will definitely be a talented person, filial and sensible, and you will definitely love your wife in the future. Bai Yi just rolled her eyes. These 2 boys lied so much, how could they be filial and sensible? And what does it have to do with loving your wife? They are the only 2 people who are filial and sensible. Be filial, sensible, and can follow behind you. I don't know if the family is turned upside down now. Thinking that Zhang Xiaoxiao was still pregnant with 2 children, she might have been worried about what the 3 of them would be like now. Bai Yi felt that the future was bleak, with no light from the sun or the moon. Sister will definitely be angry when she goes back. Bai Yi felt that she might have to memorize all those medical books. Tang Yu and Beizai came over with a flattering expression, and the 2 of them followed Bai Yi all the way to the train station. Thanks to Beizai's rich experience, the 2 of them emptied their piggy banks before going out, otherwise they wouldn't be able to get into the car. The 2 of them didn't buy tickets. They were not as experienced as Bai Yi, so they came in with tickets. Following the adults, the ticket inspector actually let them in as if they were 2 children. Besides, they are either really regarded as 2 children, or just 2 children. The 2 of them got on the train smoothly. I started to be afraid of the conductor checking my tickets, so I hid in the bathroom and waited for the conductor to finish checking my tickets. The 2 of them wandered around in the carriage for a long time, but could not find Bai Yi. Later, they heard from an adult that they found out that there was a sleeper in the back. So the 2 people came over, searching from carriage to carriage, and finally saw their sister. Especially when I see my sister bringing out so many delicious foods. The 2 of them had been hungry for a long time, and their stomachs were empty, which was why they came up with this. Bai Yi was angry but didn't dare to show it. The carriage they were in was the sleeper carriage at the back, and there were even fewer people. In this partition, there were only myself and this uncle. That uncle was probably on a business trip. He was very kind. He got on the top bunk and lay down on it. I did ask her a few questions, but not much. She didn't dare to say anything casually in front of outsiders. It would be okay if people found out that she had sneaked out. If the conductor on the train sent them back directly, she would not have run away in vain. I had no choice but to quickly take my 2 younger brothers and wash their hands briefly, and put the food I had brought into their hands. The steamed stuffed buns and glutinous rice were really hungry. During lunch, the 2 of them were anxious to follow their sister, fearing that her sister would leave early and leave them alone. So I didn't pay attention to the food at all. The 2 of them only ate less than half of the bowl and stopped eating, which made Fan Qiuying think that the 2 of them were uncomfortable. Having been busy all afternoon, my stomach is already empty and my stomach is growling with hunger. At this moment, looking at the bread and biscuits brought by my sister, they all went into their stomachs immediately. When it was time to eat, the uncle in the sleeper also came down to the dining car to eat. Finally, there was no one here. Bai Yi glared at the 2 of them fiercely. What are you 2 doing? The steamed buns and glutinous rice immediately consciously slowed down their eating speed, knowing that their aunt must be angry. Steamed buns and glutinous rice balls. Auntie, we just want to help you, it's not interesting. The 2 of us are very useful. Beizai patted his chest in assurance. Bai Yi was very happy. In this way, you 2 are still very useful? It's good if you don't cause any trouble for me. Do you know how worried your parents will be if you run away secretly like this? Do you know what kind of chaos the family will be in now? Bai Yi was so stunned by Beizai and Tang Yuan's accusing eyes that she couldn't continue to speak. 2. What I did was not much better than the 2 of them. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 626. Chapter 626 Don't eat food from strangers. How did you know I was going home by train? Bai Yi always thought that she was doing things secretly, but this matter had been hidden from Zhang Xiaoxiao and no one else knew about it. Tang Yuan patted her chest proudly. Auntie, I have seen your letter a long time ago. Bai Yi is very hot. Having such a powerful nephew at home is really not a good thing. Look at other people's houses, their walls have ears. Their walls have eyes. Auntie, we all know that you must be in trouble. We are men and we will protect you. Tang Yuan felt that he was particularly powerful when he said this, proving that he was really a little man. Beizai was speechless. He didn't feel that a man was unmanly. He just felt that since his aunt encountered difficulties, they must help. This has nothing to do with being a man or not. Bai Yi had no choice but to look at her electronic watch, which showed that it was already 7 p.m. It's useless to get off the train, this train doesn't even know where it's going. I can only take them out of the car tomorrow morning, call my sister and brother-in-law, and then go to my second uncle's house to figure out the matter. I have no choice but to take it one step at a time. The two little tails were very obedient. It was their first time riding a train and they looked left and right. Too curious. Many passengers next door thought the two of them were twins. In fact, if you look closely at their facial features, they don't look alike. The most similar thing between the two people is this figure, white and fat. If he grows up and loses weight, he will probably be able to tell them apart. Bai Yi has been paying attention to these two children. These two children are too active, especially glutinous rice balls. They are the kind of people who are not afraid of big things. At that time, if something happens on the train, whether the three of them can get off the train or not is the same thing. Seeing that the uncle who had eaten at around 8 o'clock also came back, the surrounding passengers also came back one after another. There are two middle-aged women in their 40s sitting on the chairs in the aisle of the sleeper berth, making glutinous rice and steamed buns. Oh, these two little guys are so cute. Who did you get on the train with? My mother. Beizai glanced at the two women, pulled the glutinous rice and was about to leave. Brother, let's go find my sister. Because at first, Bai Yi lied, saying that she was going back to her grandma's house with her mother and brother. So they can only call Bai Yi's sister at the moment. An aunt smiled and handed over a few pieces of candy. You three siblings are really good looking. Auntie likes you so much that she will give you a few pieces of candy. Beizai stared, no matter what he looked at, nothing was right. Tang Yuan had already neatly taken the candy and stuffed it into his pocket. He also quickly peeled off a piece of candy wrapper and stuffed a piece of candy into his mouth. It caught Beizai completely off guard. My little brother will also give you a few pieces of candy. Go back and share it with your sister. You can't eat it by yourself. My sister is so kind to you, so you must give her 2 pieces. Another aunt also smiled and stuffed several pieces of candy into Beizai's hand. Children like this colorful candy the most. Beizai didn't want it. Auntie, thank you, but I don't like eating sweets. My mother said that if you eat too much sugar, your teeth will be easily eaten by insects. He was about to leave while holding Tang Yuan in hand. He knew in his heart that he was well informed. When I was abducted by human traffickers, I saw a lot of tricks like giving candy to children. Tang Yuan is not willing to give in. He likes candies the most, but when he is at home, his parents and even grandparents keep a close eye on him. And he is strictly required to eat no more than a certain amount of sweets every day. At this moment, I finally went outside. I felt that the sky outside was blue and the air was fresh. I was finally liberated. Moreover, The aunt outside was so kind that she even gave him candy. He didn't want to part with the few pieces of candy given by others, so he grabbed them and stuffed them into his pocket. He thanked her profusely and followed Tang Yuan back to Bai Yi's berth. Baizai lowered his voice and warned Tang Yuan, "Why didn't you listen to the instructions as soon as you came out? Didn't we agree? Listen to me when you come out. Have you forgotten what your parents taught you? You can't eat food given by strangers. Do you know whether he is a good person or a bad person? What if he is a trafficker who abducts children and abducts you? What will you do?" Tang Yuan's eyes are wide and round, and it's not like she spits out the candy in her mouth, or even doesn't spit it out. The two brothers returned to their berths. Bai Yi put them to bed. Bai Yi couldn't sleep because something was on her mind. Who allowed these two bad guys to follow him out? I guess I'm not the only one who couldn't sleep tonight. My sister, brother-in-law, grandparents, uncles and aunts all couldn't sleep. Bai Yi felt irritated and had some vague regret in her heart. It seemed that she had done something wrong. Sister is not an unreasonable person. In fact, she would agree if she said it properly, but she is just afraid that her sister will really go back with her. See what his mother did. That would make her feel that her self-esteem was hurt. In her heart, she always thought that her parents still loved her. Even if they are not around, her sister always tells her that her parents will definitely come to pick her up. But now her mother has never thought of taking her back, and wants to divorce her father. Bai Yi felt that her entire family had fallen apart. She was actually the one who was hurt the most, but she was even more afraid that her sister would be disappointed. Even if she is talented and smart, she is only an 8-year-old child now. It's simply impossible to get an 8-year-old to think about everything. It's better to make a phone call as soon as you get off the car, otherwise my sister and brother-in-law will die of panic. Bai Yi turned over and closed her eyes. At this time, the Zhang family, Song Moding, Qin Ming, and Zhang Lei have returned. Fan Qiuying made a pot of noodles, cracked a few poached eggs into it, simmered the pot with green onions, added ready-made tomato sauce as a topping, and filled a large bowl for each of them. The three of them were busy at the train station last night and came back at dawn. Zhang Xiaoxiao was getting much better. She had no choice but to drink some peach branches to cheer up. Sure enough, after drinking the peach juice, I no longer felt dizzy. And there was no nausea or vomiting. Xiao was a little uncomfortable with it. If she had known this, she should have drank some peach juice when she was pregnant with glutinous rice balls. Unexpectedly, peach juice can also reduce morning sickness. How is it? Is there any news about them? Zhang Xiaoxiao asked eagerly. She didn't know why Bai Yi wanted to go back when she bought the train ticket. Even if she wanted to go back, why couldn't she tell herself? Zhang Xiaoxiao is not a person who cannot be reasoned with. Every time Bai Yi wants to do something, he is the one who supports him the most. The biggest worry is glutinous rice and steamed buns. The two children had no clue at all. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 627. Chapter 627 Long Distance. Don't worry, we asked a lot of people at the station yesterday, and a conductor saw the three of them. However, the three of them were not following each other. Bai Yi got on the train first, and then Tang Yuan and Baizai followed others and got on the train. It should be got in the same car. It was almost dawn when we found out the news yesterday. According to time, they should have got on the bus at this time. I have already made an agreement with my brother-in-law and Zhang Lei, and the three of us drove there immediately. If everything goes well, we should be able to arrive at the West Market before the afternoon, hoping to find the three children. Song Moding wiped his mouth after eating. I only had one meal from yesterday to today, and I almost drove my children crazy when I looked for them. Now that I finally have some news, I feel calmer. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt relieved when he heard this. It would be good to have news. As long as he was not kidnapped, then this is good news. Then you get ready to leave quickly. I'll call Uncle Baiyi's village and ask them to prepare to pick up the child. Zhang Xiaoxiao was still worried. Baiyi, an 8-year-old child with two 2- or 3-year-old children, was too eye-catching. There were more human traffickers in this era than in modern times. And there are no cameras or anything like that. Once the child is lost, it will be difficult to find it. These 3 children can easily become targets for others. She couldn't let go until she found him for a day. Okay, go ahead and make a call, we'll leave right away. Song Moding was also anxious. There is no ticket for taking the train in the morning. If you want to buy a ticket, you will have to get there tomorrow morning. That's why he decided to drive there. Although the road was not easy to drive, it was still faster than taking the train. Don't worry, Mom, prepare some pancakes, steamed buns, pickles and the like for them to eat on the road. Boil some eggs, and I'll make a phone call and come back to walk with you. Zhang Xiaoxiao went to the back room to make a phone call. How could she be left out of the search for the child? Song Moding sighed. This is the temperament of his wife. When it comes to children and these things, she will risk her life to do it. He was mainly worried about Zhang Xiaoxiao's health. After becoming pregnant with the twins, Zhang Xiaoxiao's health seemed to be getting worse. Looking in good spirits today, and when they ate, Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't vomit when he smelled the food. But along the way, Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't stand the smell of gasoline in the car. Mom, I don't want Xiaoxiao to go. Song Moding was going to kill them first and then tell them later. Since they were leaving anyway, Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't drive there by himself. Zhang Xiaoxiao can't drive. Fan Jiuying looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao in the back room. Okay. You 3, hurry up and leave. Xiaoxiao, I'm just holding you back. I can't prepare food. When you go out, there is a breakfast shop selling some pancakes, fried dough sticks or something like that. I might as well buy some tea eggs. Don't try to save money at this time. Only the bodies of 3 people can withstand it on the road. If anything happens, please call back immediately. I will let Xiaoxiao live at home and I can answer your calls at any time. Chance Jinming, just leave the children here with me, so you can rest assured. Fan Jiuying showed the resoluteness of her elders at this moment and settled everything immediately. The 3 of them picked up their things and left quickly. Fan Jiuying put away the bowls and sent them directly to the kitchen to start washing them. After Zhang Xiaoxiao made the call, not only did she not see Song Moding and the other 3, but Song Moding's car was also gone. She knew that the 3 of them had left her behind. Mom, why don't you stop the 3 of them? Wait for me to come back. Zhang Lishi walked in. He was the one who sent his 3 sons-in-law out the door just now. Don't make trouble. The 3 of them drive a car and take turns. You can lie down in the back seat. If you go, you won't even be able to lie down in the back seat. I know you are worried about your child, but they are also worried. Child. You will only cause trouble if you go, so just wait at home. Zhang Xiaoxiao had no choice but to give up. Everyone has left, and she can't go there no matter what unless she grows wings. Transportation is not smooth in this era. If you want to go somewhere, it will take several days and nights to take a train, and even more days and nights to take a car. For people like Song Moding and others who have cars and can drive there by themselves, it will take a few days and nights. Very little. Because not many roads have been repaired. Although the so-called national highways are much better than dirt roads these days, there are sections of national roads. Sometimes you have to detour from the national highway to other dirt roads, so you can go section by section. It's actually very tiring. If you want to get rich, build roads first. This has not yet become a reality. Although everyone is working hard, it will take time, and the future highway will not be seen yet. Lee Xiaoyun got up and washed her face. She wanted to brush her teeth but couldn't. This is not her own home. She got up early to rush back to work. I spent a whole night at Jiang's house, but I have to go back and give an explanation. Oh, Xiaoyun, you're up. I'm really sorry. I was so busy yesterday that I forgot about you. The children must have made you tired. You eat quickly. You must have to go to work after eating first. As soon as Fan Jiuying heard the commotion, she quickly came out to greet the girl. Yesterday, the girl came to their house for the first time. The result was not good. The adults and children left the family behind and asked for help to take care of their two granddaughters. The most important thing is that this girl is not a stranger at all and helps them take care of the children without any dislike or impatience at all. Fan Jiuying was extremely satisfied with the Li Xiaoyun in front of her. At first glance, this child was well educated by his parents. Having such a temperament that matches Zhang Lei, you must be rich and abundant. Li Xiaoyun smiled and shook his head. Auntie, I'm not going to eat. I have to leave quickly. I have to go to the police station first. The money we needed to pay yesterday is still at the police station. Because this money involves being robbed, so it's physical evidence. I have to rush to the police station today, take out the money, and then rush back to the factory. Everyone is waiting to be paid. She called the factory yesterday, and Xiao Zhang went back and reported the situation to the factory director. The factory director naturally knows about the money and will send someone to accompany her to the police station to get the money back today. Being robbed once is scary enough, but if the money is robbed again, it will be fine. The factory director asked her to have a good rest at home, but she didn't know that Li Xiaoyun didn't go home at all. Fan Jiuying wanted to give some advice, but Li Xiaoyun had already packed her bag and hurried out. Fan Jiuying couldn't help but sigh. No wonder people say marriage is destined by nature. I am here in a hurry, trying to get my son to go on a blind date, but who knows that they can even find a good match in private. This girl herself is really satisfied. After finishing the current affairs and getting those little guys back, it seems like it's time to organize a happy event for Zhang Lei. Zhang Lei's age cannot be postponed any longer. It is better to start a family earlier, so that you can have grandchildren earlier. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 628. Chapter 628. The traffickers are really here. Bai Yi got off the train sleepily with glutinous rice and steamed buns. It's 4:30 in the morning. The platform is still a little dark. But there is already a slight dawn on the horizon. Tang Yuan and Baizai had never gotten up so early, but there was nothing they could do. Bai Yi shook them awake and wanted to get off the train. The two of them suddenly remembered that they were following Bai Yi on the train. I could only get out of the car reluctantly. Fortunately, this is July, the weather is hot, and the sun rises early in the morning. They walked out of the station and saw no one on the street. The three of them were also a little confused. Bai Yi and the others had no choice but to sit on the curb outside the train. Bai Yi had already inquired about it long ago. If they wanted to go back to the village where their second uncle lived, they would have to reverse the bus. If you take a bus, it will take more than 3 hours. But it is impossible for the long-distance bus to open at this time. They can only wait until after 8 o'clock when the station opens before they can buy tickets and get on the bus. Bai Yi has a little headache. Train tickets are confusing, but the question is what to do with bus tickets. You can buy a ticket. When you get on the bus, people will see that they are 3 children. I'm afraid it's hard to explain. The problem is that if she walks to the village, she doesn't have the ability, and she has 2 little ones with her. How can she walk home with these 2 pairs of short legs? The sky finally dawned. Bai Yi cheered up, bought a ticket and left quickly. You also need to find a place to make a phone call. Grabbing glutinous rice and steamed buns, I went to buy tickets first. Tickets are easy to buy, and most conductors would think that parents let their children come to buy tickets. In any case, children in this era can go out to help their parents buy soy sauce at the age of 3 or 4, not to mention that it is not normal for an 8-year-old child to buy a ticket. Bai Yi was a little worried about the ticket. Where could she make a phone call? It is not easy to make a phone call in this era. There are no public phones on the street, unlike in the future where public phones will be everywhere. Mobile phones are widely available to everyone, let alone public phones. Phone number not found. Bai Yi could only pull the two brothers into the car. Unfortunately, before I could get in the car, someone had already rushed over. 3 women, middle-aged and strong, rushed over with lightning speed, picked up the children and ran away. Right? Grab the child. Bai Yi just wanted to shout for help. A big hand tightly covered their mouths. Bai Yi's eyes blurred and she fainted. Baizai responded the fastest, mainly because he has rich experience. There is nothing he can do, he has encountered many creatures like human traffickers. He ran directly to the police station in front of the station. When the people saw him, they saw that the child was running faster than a rabbit. And the location of Baizai station is indeed too close to the police station post. Those people couldn't catch up even if they chased her, of course, largely because they didn't dare to chase. Chasing after him, he rushed to deliver it to the police. Looking at the 2 children in their hands, the 3 of them quickly prepared to retreat. As a result, they saw that the fat man who ran faster than a rabbit did not run into the police station sentry, but turned over and ran back. While running, he waved and shouted, "Wait for me, wait for me." The leader, Sister Hua, was a little confused. Isn't that little fat guy a fool? Xifen next to him took a look. No, he looks quite smart. I don't care about that little fat guy. I don't care whether he is a fool or not. Let's get rid of him first. I made a fortune today. I have 3 children all at once. Without saying a word, I walked up to him, picked up the bun and left. Afraid that the little fat man would call for help and people would just block his mouth. The 3 people quickly disappeared from the station with their children in their arms. No one around noticed the scene at all. Even if someone did, they thought it was the child's relatives who took the child away. But these 3 people did not notice that 2 people in blue overalls followed them silently. The 3 children were bound hand and foot, their mouths were gagged, and they were thrown directly into the house. Tang Yuan fell to the ground. He thought he would be hurt by the fall, but unexpectedly he found that he fell on someone. He looked up and saw a 3 or 4-year-old boy staring at him in horror. He couldn't sit up at all while being tied up. Bai Yi was already awake at this moment. The moment she woke up, she knew that something was bad. This time something big happened. This is the legendary human trafficker. They must have encountered a human trafficker. Bai Yi was so anxious that tears fell down. Why are you so stupid? What kind of self-respect do you need? If you tell your sister about this, you won't get the matter to such an uncontrollable point. How could such a thing have happened if the 2 younger brothers had not followed her out quietly? With a handful of glutinous rice and steamed buns sold in the mountains and forests, I will never see my sister and brother-in-law again. How can she be worthy of her sister and brother-in-law? Bai Yi cried for a long time. Then someone was untying the rope for her. Bai Yi turned around and saw Baizai untying the rope with quick hands and feet. Bai Yi whimpered in surprise. Baizai looked back at the door, but didn't hear any movement. He made a shushing gesture on his mouth with his finger, and then took out the rag from Bai Yi's mouth. Bai Yi asked in a low voice, "How did you do it? How could you untie them? When those people tied people up just now, there was no way they could let the little fat man go." Bayazai glanced at Bai Yi inscrutably. Human traffickers only have so many ways to kidnap people. I have been kidnapped by them all the time, and I have gained experience and know how to loosen the rope and escape. As he spoke, he untied the rope for Bai Yi, and then untied the rope for Tang Yuan. Tang Yuaner is very smart and silent. If those people were alerted now, it would be weird if they could get some good results from them, but he didn't want to be again. At this time, the three of them had time to look around. It was a warehouse-like house with all the windows made of wood and all sealed. Except for some light coming in between the gaps in the wood, the room was completely dark and nothing could be seen. But with these lights, they could still see clearly inside the room. There was a pile of weeds in the house, and there were 7 children similar to them lying on the weeds. There are mostly boys, 6 of them are boys, and there is only 1 girl. The oldest is only 5 years old, and the youngest is less than 1 year old. They were all gagged, and thrown in the corner. The children looked at the 3 of them with frightened eyes. "Won't you untie them?" Bai Yi saw Bayazai untying the rope for the 2 of them and then stopped moving. Instead, she was groping back and forth around, not knowing what she was looking for. Bayazai looked around. "There is no need to untie them. They are so young. If you untie them, they will start crying like ghosts. Then we should bring in people from the outside. If we want to escape, we can't alert the people outside," Bayazai said with confidence. "These human traffickers are also experienced, and they are all veterans when they encounter this group." Bai Yi stopped talking. What Bayazai said is not wrong at all. Now that I have to untie those children, they won't cry immediately. How can the traffickers outside run away when they hear the 3 of them? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 629. Chapter 629 A Desperate Move. Bayazai, you could have escaped by yourself just now, why did you run back again? Tang Yuaner had almost run into the house over there when he saw Bayazai. There were adults there who could protect Bayazai. But Bayazai finally ran back and was captured by the traffickers together with them. Tang Yuan can't understand. Pinch the nose of the glutinous rice dumpling with the bun. You and Ant are so stupid. If I don't come back, how can you two escape? Only when I come back can I take you to escape together. Just the 2 of you, I think sooner or later, you will be sold out material from deep mountains and old forests. The contemptuous and disdainful tone of Bayazai made Tang Yuan smile. Hunted by Bayazai, he listened carefully outside. He slowly let go of his hand. Keep your voice low. If we alert those people, we will have to tie them up again, and it will be even harder to run away. Tang Yuan nodded sensibly. Bayazai, how can we run away? I saw 2 people hiding next to the house. I don't know what they want to do. They have followed these 3 traffickers all the way from the bus station to here. When they got here, the 2 of them were hiding outside. Tang Yuan's words made Bayazai stunned. There are 2 people who have been following us. Could it be that they were sent by Mom and Dad? No, if they were people sent by Mom and Dad, they should have shown up by now to rescue us. Bai Yi also heard it, but couldn't understand it either. But they have to escape no matter what. Now what? No matter how smart Bai Yi is, she is only an 8-year-old child. I actually asked the 3-year-old Bayazai for his opinion now, and Bayazai was very proud. This is the gap. Even though Bai Yi is very good at reading on weekdays, she is not as good as herself in this aspect. Then there was a knock on the door. In an instant, it sounded like thunder in the hearts of the 3 of them. What to do? How would she protect her brothers if these people took any of them away? Bai Yi bit her lower lip to suppress the scream that was about to come out, fighting against the overwhelming fear and horror until she tasted blood. No matter what, she must find a way. I still have my skull bag on me. Those people would never go through a child's skull bag. Bai Yi quickly rummaged through her skull bag. Then he took out a scalpel from the compartment of his school bag. That was a handful she secretly took out from Jiang's small surgical suit. She learned how to cut pork when she had nothing to do. The day before she left, she replaced the knife with a new blade. Now sharp knives should be able to scare those people. Bai Yi's hands and feet were trembling. She shouldn't be like a scared coward. Even if she has to die, she must die bravely. She must open her eyes resolutely and watch those approaching and watch how she fights those bastards. Bai Yi must defeat them and then bring Tang Yuan and the others with her. Return to safety. Don't be afraid. Bai Yi calculated in her mind. Hunched up and hiding behind the door, she is short in stature and no one will notice her hiding here. Once the target is identified, she can slash their necks with the knife in her hand and threaten them to let go of the glutinous rice and steamed buns. The wisest thing to do is this. She is worried about whether she is strong enough and can do what she wants to do. But if you don't do it, what will your brother do? Bai Yi gritted her teeth. It was her fault and she had to make up for it herself. It is not a pity to die, but the glutinous rice and steamed buns cannot be sold. Where are the people? Sister Hua, everything is inside, don't worry, have you found a buyer, it's so fast this time. The flattering and surprised voice was full of greed. Okay. Stop talking nonsense and open the door. The two of them are here to buy a child. They want a boy for 10,000 yuan. Hurry up. Go and clean up and let those children meet the guests. The call girl ordered impatiently. Then there is the sound of inviting people to sit down and drink tea. Someone continued to open the door. Bai Yi thought in a daze that the current situation was a bit bad. If the leading sister Hua didn't come in, she wouldn't be able to control the leader. What can we do even if we catch one person underneath? What if we can't threaten them and expose ourselves instead? But what to do if we don't expose him? He clearly said that he wanted to take a boy away. If by any chance the object you bump into is glutinous rice balls. Even if Bai Yi dies now, as long as she can save Tang Yuan, she is willing to do anything. At some point, glutinous rice and steamed buns had already touched her side. Tang Yuan reminded Bai Yi in a low voice. It was those two people who came to buy the child. Baizai and Bai Yi were both shocked. Those two people? This place is so dirty, why should we drink tea? Let's take care of the children first. As long as we have the right one, money is not a problem. A man's voice was full of disgust. Sister Hua's voice came, okay, if you don't want to drink, don't drink. It's okay to look after the children first. Please open the door quickly and let the two gentlemen see. The door is opened. A ray of light came in, causing the children in the room to squint their eyes. Sister Hua walked in one step ahead, introducing people as she walked. This time there are 8 boys, and they are not very old. There are 2 more good-looking. They should be the boys in the city who are white and fat. I guarantee that you will like it as soon as you see it. For this money, it will definitely not be in vain. Children of this age just need to take it home. You take good care of the food and drink, and you will forget about the past in 2 days and treat you like your own parents. Sister Hua introduced excitedly. Looking out from the direction of the door, you can only vaguely make out the strong figure of Sister Hua. Bai Yi felt as if she was nailed to the wall, unable to move, although Sister Hua was completely exposed to the light pouring in from the door. But she knew those people were watching the room, and no one noticed her position. Her heartbeat was so heavy that even her shirt was vibrating up and down. Her hands were wet and cold, and her suffocated lungs seemed to be faint even when she breathed. Pain. Bai Yi's small body launched the attack, which seemed to last for just 1 second. She calmly and silently burst out with power and speed like a cheetah. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out of her throat. Then she appeared on Sister Hwa's shoulders, hugging Sister Hwa's neck tightly, riding her legs on Sister Hwa's shoulders, and holding a gleaming scalpel clip on Sister Hwa's neck. She said calmly, "If you don't want to die, just get out." Because of excessive tension, the scalpel cut in Sister Hwa's neck, causing blood to flow freely. Everyone was stunned. Sister Hwa has lost her voice. No one can speak even if a knife is put to their neck. The rest of the people were even more stunned. You all listen to her. Little girl, they all leave. Don't be afraid. Auntie can't hurt you. Auntie lets you go, okay. As the coaxing words came out of her mouth, Sister Hwa was dripping with cold sweat. She wanted to make the little girl relax her vigilance. She didn't want to die. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 630. Chapter 630 Rescue. Bai Yi hugged the glutinous rice and steamed buns tightly in her arms. Everything around has ended. Everything that just happened seemed like a dream. Sister Hwa took advantage of Bai Yi's relaxation and wanted to fight back. At this time, two men launched an attack. Like the wind and the remaining clouds, everyone in the house fell down. Then 5 minutes later, the police arrived with people. The two men hid in the darkness and left quietly. Their mission was completed, Bai Yi and the other children were rescued. No matter how many questions the police asked, they could not find out who rescued these children. The children below are not very big, so they can't explain clearly at all. Bai Yi is the oldest. The police asked for a long time and the result was that someone saved them and they didn't know anything else. The police can only conclude that someone acted bravely. Bai Yi and the others arrived at the police station. The glutinous rice and steamed buns will never be separated from Bai Yi. Police contact their families. I contacted Zhang Xiaoxiao and learned that the parent, Song Moding, would arrive soon. Zhang Xiaoxiao finally breathed a sigh of relief at Fan Xiuying's place. It's good for the children to find it. But when they came to pick them up, Song Moding and Bai Yi's second uncle Bai Jifang got together. Bai Jifang and Qifen also arrived. Since receiving Zhang Xiaoxiao's call, the couple has been waiting at the long-distance bus station at the entrance of the village. As a result, from early morning until dark, there was no long-distance bus coming, and the couple was very worried. Later, Bai Jifang called Zhang Xiaoxiao and found out that the children were actually at the police station, so he hurriedly asked the village tractor to take them to the county town. Just when we arrived at the police station, Song Moding and the others arrived. Song Moding, thanks to his extra foresight, called Zhang Xiaoxiao after he arrived. Song Moding thought that he would definitely miss out if he went to the station. Bai Yi and the others must have gotten off the bus at this time. So when they arrived in the county seat, they called Zhang Xiaoxiao in advance, fearing that the two families would get sidetracked and no one would be able to pick up the other, and the child would be delayed. Hearing that Bai Yi and the others had met a human trafficker, Song Moding and the others were anxious. I was afraid of encountering this kind of thing, but I happened to encounter it. When they saw Bai Jifang and Qifen, their faces turned pale with fright. Bai Jifang slapped Bai Yi when he saw her. That slap was so hard. Bai Yi was beaten so hard that she started to cry. Song Moding hurriedly protected Bai Yi. Brother, what are you doing? Yi is still a child. Song Moding, like Zhang Xiaoxiao, treats Bai Yi as a younger sister. Bai Jifang saw Bai Yi's face suddenly swollen by him, and felt distressed, so he slapped himself hard again. It's all me, why am I so talkative? I should tell you too about this kind of thing. Why tell Yi first? She is such a young child, how can she think so thoughtfully? Why am I so stupid? Although Yi is like a little adult on weekdays, I can't really regard her as an adult. You can't really blame Bai Jifang for being sad. Bai Jifang is a loyal and honest person. Although he is not Bai Yiyi's biological parent, Bai Jifang has been in contact with Bai Yiyi all these years. I write letters to the child every once in a month to learn about the child's situation. Although their family cannot afford to go to Kyoto to see Bai Yiyi, they know from the photos and letters that Bai Yiyi is doing well. No matter how difficult their life was, they never thought of taking advantage of Bai Yiyi. I just hope that the child can live a good life. Now is a good time. Come back as soon as the child comes back. How could you not tell the adults, and also bring their 2 children with you? If they were really abducted by human traffickers, how could they stand up to Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding? How much the 2 of them did to Bai Yiyi, they treated her like a biological sister. Looking at what Bai Yiyi is wearing now, she looks like this. The child has grown more than half in 3 years and is now up to Bai Jifang's shoulders. You can know how carefully the couple raised this child. If something really happened to Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding's son, they both felt that even death could not atone for this crime. Song Moding hurriedly stopped him. Brother, don't be like this. This is something that no one expected, and no one did it on purpose. The child is fine now. This is better than anything else. Don't hit the child, and don't scare the child. I can't blame you 2 for this matter. If you want to blame us, blame us. We didn't take good care of our children. This matter has never been discovered. We still don't care enough about our children. If we had found out, we wouldn't have ended up like this today. Bai Yiyi apologized with red eyes. Brother-in-law, it was my fault. I shouldn't have sneaked out by myself. I really didn't expect that glutinous rice and steamed buns could actually follow me onto the train. Bai Yiyi used to think that she was very smart. She was an outstanding student in the class and had a very good brain. Even the books from Zhang Xiaoxiao Medical College can be memorized backwards and forwards. For Bai Yiyi, she began to feel that she was very powerful, smart, and could learn things as soon as she could. She felt that she was even better than an adult. However, after experiencing what she had experienced today, she suddenly realized that in the past, she was just looking at the sky from a well. This world is so big, and I still see and know too little. Had I not been careless, I would not have encountered a trafficker. If I had not acted on my own initiative, I thought I was very smart. Then these things wouldn't have happened today, if it weren't for Beizai and Tang Yuan following him, and if it weren't for those 2 inexplicable people who saved them. Maybe what is their situation now? Every time she thinks about the feeling of cutting someone's neck with her own blade, Bai Yiyi will feel trembling all over and feeling cold in her heart. This is completely different from the feeling of cutting pork yourself. Song Moding had a serious face and did not scold Bai Yiyi, but he was very serious. You are the family members of 3 children, okay? Come. Let's make some records, and of course take your IDs for registration. You can't take the children away now. You go back to the local neighborhood committee and the police station to issue a certificate. Prove your relationship with your child. Of course, this certificate must have photos of your 3 children to prove your kinship with them. Then we can come and take the child away. The child will be temporarily taken care of by our local welfare agency for the next 2 days. The police are doing business. In this era, there is no DNA verification technology to prove the relationship between the child and the adult. It can only be proved by various letters of introduction and certificates. Even if Song Moding and the others said that they couldn't take the child away even if it was a big day, there was nothing they could do, so Zhang Lei was left here to guard it. Song Moding and Qin Ming drove directly back to open the letter of introduction. The only good thing is that Bai Jifang returned to the village and wrote a letter of introduction, so that he could take Bai Yiyi away first. End of this chapter.